Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to Two Gents Podcast. I'm out here today, and this is probably one of my proudest days of doing a podcast that I can remember in history. And it's all about this guy that's behind me in this picture right here, as you can see. It's all about him. I didn't need no intro. I didn't need anything because his record has spoken for itself. This particular day, and I don't want to get sidetracked. I want to get right into it. This particular day, as Black people, we never truly believed it would happen. We never truly believed it would happen in our lifetime. In our lifetime. Not because we lacked the talent, the intelligence, or the leadership, but because America had never shown us that the door was even cracked open. There wasn't even a crack in the door that showed us that this could possibly happen at this particular time in history. I got my telephone down here, so it's going to remind me. I got people that listen to me, and they let me know if my sound's good and all the rest of that. So I'm going to do this, but I want to do this in a way where I'm showing complete dedication, because in a couple of months, people are going to be lining up around corners trying to get into his library. See, there's a library line that was in place a long time ago. As he does his dedication, then I hope that again, people like us in social media can get together and give him his just due. I hope that we can take the time out to pause, because he deserves everything that he has coming. He has given everything. Not only him, see which way I'm gonna have to do this. Not only him, but his wife, Michelle Obama, and his kids. They took 8 years of their life and put it into offering a better opportunity for this country. Not just a better opportunity for this country, but a better opportunity for people that look like me and you. Me and you. America, again, has never showed us that the door was cracked. For years, I remember a song that came on, and it said, if a peanut farmer can do it, so can I. That was mentioned of Jimmy Carter. Years later, we jokingly and sometimes seriously called Bill Clinton the first Black president of the United States. Not because he was Black, but because he carried himself with a familiar culture ease. When I say that, I want you to understand, it wasn't that he was Black, but he had been around enough Black people in his life that he understood the suffering or how we were suppressed throughout that time. He was able to communicate, and it came across well. Before Obama, he probably had the most Black people ever appointed to any official office in D.C. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So while we were playing, listening to saxophones and finding out who Bill Clinton's best friends was and all the rest of that, while we did all of that, we started calling him the first Black president of the United States. We did that only because we didn't know any better. Only because we did. I'm gonna tell you like I should say it. There's a God. Don't ever say what can't be done, because he said, I got all things come to me. And this is one of those things that we should look back and we should say, you know what? There's a God in this world. There's a God, because this shouldn't happen. See, Bill Clinton came from Hope, Arkansas, We gave him that title. We put it. We gave it to him because of something that we never seen coming down the road. I don't even think that. And later on, you heard people talking about him. But this particular guy right here, Barack Obama. Was his name gonna sell you? No. Was his name saying I'm from America? No. There wasn't any kids with that name in there with that name on any birth certificates around me that I knew of. I didn't even know who Barack was. I didn't even know, and let alone Obama. So this I'm gonna break this down, but I want to break it down so it tells you how important this moment was. Man, this is not about politics. I'm not comparing politics today. I'm not telling you what was done and what wasn't done. I want us to stand up as Black people and know what he stood for. See, as everybody else gets out there and tell you his story on that particular day that's coming, I think it's on June 18th. It's appropriate. June 18th, June 19th. It's when his library is going to be dedicated. We got to know that on the day that he walked down that, he was doing this walk right here. They was waving to everybody. They was waving to the Black people in America, telling them that you can be anything that you want to be. See, there's a lot of firsts in that picture that's behind me. You got the first Black president. You got the first Black lady. And then you got the first Black kids in office, to tell you the truth. So when I want to do him, we got to do this because too many times I get on here and I say stuff and I criticize him, but I'm criticizing because of his actions, not from what he did for Black people. There's a brother that that goes to Pastor Reagan's church, older Black man. And one time we were talking about Obama, and the only thing he typed in the comments was stop. I didn't understand what he was saying. I don't even think Glass understood what he was saying. But you know what Pastor Regan said? He said, it's one of my members. He's telling y'all to stop. And see, as I tell this story, I need to tell you from a perspective of how Black people looked at this day. Because some of y'all just take it for granted. Some people take it for granted now that it's happened. But think about all the people back in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, 90s. Yes, I'm still a little bit under the weather. 90s. Think about what they went through. They were told they lived in an era where they couldn't see a Black man going into office. They lived in an era where they couldn't even walk on the other side of the street. And they knew if they did it, that it wasn't nobody to back them up that was going straight to jail. They lived in an era where they couldn't even drink out of the same faucet as a white person. They lived in an era where things were totally different. So when this man rises from where they know that he came from, he gave them a sense of pride. He gave America a sense of pride. He brought us to a point where we knew that the message was going. It was a possibility of America becoming equal at one time. It was a possibility in the future that we was going to become equal at one time. He showed the youngest of Black people that you can do it. Remember the song I told you about? If a peanut farmer can do it, So can I. I'm gonna take you back. Jill Scott, Jill Scott Heron, Gil Scott Heron, as I'm gonna correct myself. He said the revolution would not be televised. When he put that together, he wasn't putting it together because he seen a vision of a president. He put it together because he just knew that the revolution wasn't gonna get what was put in front of him based on his life at that particular time. When Dr. Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream," his dream wasn't about a black man becoming president. It was a possibility. But he didn't, at that particular time, he was just like us. His dream was just about making it better for black people, getting us somewhere where we could get jobs, where they treated us the same on buses, where we could go from the back of the bus to the front of the bus. When Rosa Parks sitting in that front seat on the bus, she didn't know this was coming. I'm gonna even bring it closer. Malcolm X didn't know. Nobody could foresee this coming. That's why it's so relevant today. That's why you should feel something about it today and not just take it for granted because it happened and now we're in the times where we at, because that's where some people want to put you. That's what they're taking away from your history. That's just the person that they want to destroy. So we got to keep it relevant. We got to push it to the forefront. We got to make sure that our kids know who this man is. Just like we need to make sure that our kids know what Dr. Martin Luther King. Some kids today, you can ask them who was Martin Luther King, and they don't know him. They don't know Malcolm X. They don't know the struggles that we as black people went through. But here's a man that was in the head of the country that you can show them that you can be anything that you ever set your mind to. That you ever set your mind to. See, I'm going to tie this back to myself because I heard something the other day that my daughter told my grandson. I never heard it before. My daughter told my grandson, I was right here. She said, Jojo, I thought you wanted to be president of the United States. Do you know when a young man that young tells you hear something in your family? That's telling you what Barack told him is that he has the ability to become president of the United States of America. It's only one black man that can say that I was president, I sit in that office, I ran this country, I headed it. And it was in my lifetime. It was in the lifetime of many young black people coming up. If ever there was a incentive to vote, that's it. That right there should let you know the reason why you go out and vote. See, I ain't gonna sit there and criticize you for not voting. I ain't gonna sit here and criticize you. The reason why you think your vote don't count, I'm gonna show you. Because it's easy to show somebody than it is to sit there and tell them the reason why they vote don't count, the reason why they feel like they vote don't count. When people were sitting at home, it was people even during this time. Hold my hand up. They say he ain't gonna make it. He's not gonna be the president of the United States. So you have to hold yourself accountable. I'm holding myself accountable. You know what doctrine I went up under? So you'll know. My doctrine was simple. Man, they're gonna kill him before he ever get to be president. I know some of y'all heard the same thing. You may not admit it, but some of y'all heard the same thing. He ain't gonna make it. Because as soon as he get up there, they're gonna kill him. You know why? because that's a past track record of everybody that's been in the black community that has risen, that looks like they're making a mark, that looks like they can direct a narrative to become bigger than what they are. They paid the price. They paid the price so he could be where he is today. I may never stand on the same stage or ever give my hand in his hand, but I have to respect him for the man that he became. He didn't go out there and embarrass us. His first lady didn't go out there and embarrass us. His kids has not embarrassed us. They basically held that standard higher than anybody else could ever carry. As a matter of fact, I think that dignity walked into the White House right here. The most dignity I ever seen in my lifetime was by these two people walking into the White House. See, sometimes as black people, we don't give people enough credit. But today, I'm gonna break it down so you can understand. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for this man. He stood before a country that had been buried in racism for years. He stood before a country and he ran, not knowing if he was coming home the next day. His kids didn't know. His wife didn't know. When he went out there on that road, it was a possibility that he never made it back. Based on the history. Everybody that has stood up before him got to his level of power in this country, got to his level where he could make a difference. They put him in their place. As much as we don't like saying it, that's what they did. They put him in their place. They got rid of Dr. Martin Luther King. We buried him. They got rid of Malcolm X. We buried him. There's so many others that was before him that they buried, that they put dogs on. They did everything that they could to destroy people as a whole. They killed little kids in a church, little innocent kids. They tried to put Muhammad Ali in jail because he said he didn't want to go over there and fight a fight that wasn't for him. And they took him down for years. He made it back up, but they took him out. And here's a man that went from, here's a man that went from, and we sit here and today, we're going to honor him. See, because it's not where you come from, it's where you finish. It's not where you come from, it's where you finish. If he doesn't do one other thing in this lifetime, he's done something that one person only has the ability to say, I was president of these United States of America. Wait a minute, I'm gonna clean that up. I was the first black president of these United States. See, they want to go back to all that other history that was going on during George Washington time. And you know the reason why we probably don't know that history? Because it's a track record, and the track record is continuing with the person that's in office right now, where they're trying to get rid of that history. And even if it was there, It's not there no more. So you need to understand that today we need to ensure that that history stays in place. And whoever comes in 28 is going to have that task. But I want you to go with that task, but I want you to take this man with you. I don't care who it is. I'm not predicting that. I'm just talking about what has happened since this man's been in office. He's been on every list. The things that he have done, they've been trying to destroy it. We're fighting a war where peace was made and taken away just because his name was on there. He brought a healthcare system in, and they tried to tie him to it. They tried to tear it down every which way that they can. But you know what they ended up doing? It just not to give him credit. They found out the whole name of the bill, the Affordable Health Care Plan, to keep from calling Barack Obama, keep from using his name in there. They found out how to call it the Affordable Health Care Plan, so his name is not a part of it. But he was the one that did it. And you know, and when he got elected as president, I want to stay on point because when he got elected as president, the country was on the brink. The stock market wasn't just dipping, it was collapsing. Pension funds were evaporating. Lifetimes of savings. Just think about this. Lifetime. I'm talking about banks, and they don't like their name mentioned, but Chase could have failed during that time because it was a domino effect taking place when this man got into the office. What he was left with, he wasn't supposed to survive. Sound familiar in life because they always want us to come in and clean up some. They always put us in a position where they think we're going to fail. It's always at the last, when the door is about to close, that person that's been giving them all those ideas to keep the door open, at the last minute, they want to run to that person. Hey, you know, you had this idea. Can we do it now? But your door is about to close. He knew what he was getting into. He knew what he was facing before he got there. And I'm sure he was having meetings, planning strategies, and asking, because he didn't have the banking knowledge. I know he didn't. He couldn't OJT into it because he didn't have time. Because by the time he got through OJTing into it, this country could have been out. That's how desperate of times it was. It was like the 1920s all over. But he walked into that. He may not share it with you, but the behind the scenes stuff that was going on, he had to carry America. Most of all, he still had to be a father to his kids and a husband to his wife during these times. So he was spending long hours trying to clean up a country that somebody, and so you can understand that somebody else had messed up. When he shook that man's hand and he walked out of that office, it was piled high with a bunch of stuff that was going to get tagged to him. And they may be good friends now. They may have been on the opposite side then. But what he left him wasn't an economy that was striving. He didn't leave him in a position where he could grow from. He didn't even leave him on the first step of any step that you take. If anything, this country was up under the steps. And if you don't believe me, listen carefully to what I'm about to say. You worried about Social Security, but let me tell you something. If your pension funds go away, there's going to be a lot of people looking for jobs. It should be a lot of people understanding what times we are in, what times we were in. Pension funds evaporating, lifetime savings disappearing in days because as those banks went down, so did your money. And you only guaranteed for $250,000. The rest of that money would have gone. See, we forget about. See, that's a problem that we forget. We forgot where this man brought us from. We forgot what he got, what he inherited on day one. See, we give a lot of people credit for what they did when they was in office, but we don't give this man enough credit for what he had to face on day one. Yeah, he was a lawyer, but he wasn't practicing the stock market. He probably wasn't familiar with monetary terms, how banks and all the rest of that. But he had to put together a team of people that believed in him. And then they had to put together a plan that was going to save America. Let that digest in your head for a minute. Save America. Because when the banks fail, you know what happens? Jobs fall. All that stuff that we were talking about the bank. Oh man, you need to let it sink. You need to let it go. If you didn't see downstream that if he would let that go, where your pension was coming from, where your bank, where your paycheck was coming from, all of that. Even let me share this with you so you can relate to it. It was people that had fraudulent loans out there that they had wrote. That was part of the reason why the bank failed. Because they allowed the system to fail itself. That was during the time when you could go out and get a loan on a house, no documentation, none of that, and nobody said anything. You could tell them that you was making $200,000, $300,000. But here's the difference. Here's what most people don't understand. I can go out there and get that house, but can I keep it? Can I keep it? Now I'm gonna relate this back so some people can truly understand because it's that season right now. It's like taking your tax money and you went and took your tax money because you had a large amount, but by September, it's gonna all be gone. But you went out and bought this fabulous car that you knew that you weren't gonna be able to make the payments. But because you had that cash, they take that cash at the dealership. And they know you're only gonna drive a couple of months. They know it. But they got that money, your down payment. Because you wasn't doing so good at first, so you have to pay more to get into that car. Oh yeah. We help take down this country. We as a whole help take down this country too, not just by ourselves, but as a whole, we put this country in a place where it never should have been because they tried to allow you to improve your situation. And of course, when you try to do stuff, people want to take the advantage of it. But that's where they put this man when he was president. Most people don't understand. They don't want to hear the history. They just want to gloss over it and let it fly. But that's not what it's about. People in high offices were playing number games with the market. And the bill finally came due. Everyday citizens didn't understand the scale of what was happening. And honestly, They shouldn't have had to. They shouldn't have had to. But the truth was simple. If you don't save them, let me tell you what he had to do. Let me show you, because I want you to see him again. That man back there, he couldn't let one of them fail. Because if one of them failed, it created a domino effect. Eventually, all of them would fail. So now now when you look at him, you honor him for what he did. But some people have selective amnesia. They don't want to look back and give him his credit. But it's coming up on his time, and I want to get my congratulations out there. I want us to know that I want us in social media to start building up to his time, building up to his library. Do like everybody else. Build him up to get to the point where when it comes June 18th or 19th or whatever it is, that he has somebody out there telling his story, not from a perspective of holding him accountable for something that he didn't do or didn't say, but from a perspective of promoting him for what he did. Not many people going to do that. I don't know if you've seen the title of my show today. For Black America, Obama's election wasn't about politics. It wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't about politics. For us, that was everything. For us, it represents the brutality of police, how they treated people. For us, it represents those people that was marched into those lunchrooms or bars and they sat down that was students. It represented Dr. Martin Luther King. His family paid a price, a big price, for him doing that. Malcolm X, it paid a price for him. It's so much that he paid a price, that paid the price for him to do what he's doing. And we forget it. We don't even let our kids learn about it. We don't, and they tearing down everything that we have accomplished over the years. They putting gold trims on top of everything, but we allowing them to tear down our people. This is one of the times that it ain't no tear down here. It's going to be all about fight and what we should be fighting for. Most people never saw the fire. It was a fire. It was a fire sale going on. They only saw the man. But history will remember the moment. A country on the edge and a leader who stopped into the storm instead of stepping aside. See, he could have easily stepped aside and let all of this stuff fail. But you know who they would have pinned that on? Him. Do you think he would have got a second term? No. Because it sounds like a setup, right? If I wasn't telling you this for myself, if you didn't live through this, wouldn't you say it sounds like a setup for a person to fail? See, I ain't gonna sit here and yell and scream and go through all the rest of that. And you know me, I like to break stuff down and get to my points. So I'm setting myself up right now so you can understand. It actually took the transition from symbolism to reality. Here's where Obama stood out. See, we took a symbolism. We used Clinton's symbolism to say that he was the first black president, because we never, in our imagination, in our minds, we never gave that any thought at that time that he was going to eventually become president. I remember the first time I heard Tom Joyner mention it on the air. And at that time, I listened to Tom Joyner every single day because he represented what the Black community was about. And at my age, at that particular time, when Tom Joyner he was flying from Dallas to Chicago. How Black was that? What does that transition tell you? Dallas to Chicago. You'll tie it all back together soon. But anyway, I want to get past this. The moment the impossible became visible, when the impossible becomes visible, the entire system shifts. There was people back there, people at that time when he was running for office, they would, oh no, ain't no way in. Ain't no way this gonna happen. And you know who they were. You know who they were. And you know what they were saying. This is not gonna happen. Sorry to tell them, but it did. This is where you speak directly into, let me tell you something. You speak directly to the people that you're talking about. For many of us watching Obama take that oath, wasn't about politics. It was personal. It was our grandparents' prayers. It was our parents' sacrifices, our own quiet doubts about what America would allow. You remember me telling you during the opening that people, even myself, never thought he would have made it to office based on the example of what we saw out there? What happened to Black people when they got so high in power that maybe it cost them their life? It was the first time the highest office in the land reflected a face, a family, and a rhythm that felt familiar to Black people. I'm going to say that because I need you to understand where I'm going with this. It was the first time the highest office in the land reflected a face, a family, a rhythm that felt familiar. That was a day. And that's why criticism never stopped. Because once that barrier falls, the old guard knows it can fall. Again, if a Black man can rise to that level, then the next generation won't accept the old limits because you're not singing those songs no more. If a peanut farmer can do it, you're not imagining anymore of having a Black president through Bill Clinton. You're not imagining that it has happened. But let me tell you something. It's a bigger picture there. Because he made it through there. And I'm going to tell you, you may not believe this. If a woman, be it Black, white, or whatever, makes it to the highest place in the land, things are going to change. Things are going to change. He was only the first step. But see, the real reason why, and I'm going to say it, and I don't care who hate for it, if a woman breaks that barrier that Barack Obama did, well, we're telling America, it doesn't matter what sex you are, doesn't matter where you come from, that you can also be in the highest office of the land. You have the ability to do it. And that in itself is the reason why They're fighting so hard to hold on to that power, that imaginary power that they have, that they think that they got, that we keep on giving it to them. We keep on giving it to them. That's the reason why they're holding on to it, because when that next thing happens, they don't have that base. They don't have that base no more. And again, it don't matter what color you are. Barack Obama stepped up first. But if the woman comes in next in power, in the highest office of the land, everything that we know is out, it's gone. You have broke that power base that was there. See, they think that they still got power because a woman has never gotten there. And their narrative is just to keep that woman out by whatever means necessary, hold her accountable than any man, just as they did Barack Obama. That level of power that they have will fall, because now you have the black man in office. And if you can see it within yourself as a black man, to see a woman, you will probably give your offspring an opportunity to become president of the United States. Because then the barrier, it ain't no barrier there that hasn't been broken. Anybody could become president of the United States after them. That's how important that is. I'm going to break it down eventually. I'm going to get to that show too. But you have to understand that that's where it was established from. Man, I remember looking at the TV, seeing people crying with tears of joy. Tears of joy. It's probably, if you went to the cemetery, it probably felt like a black cemetery. Probably feel like the earth was moving. People rolling over in their graves, trying to sit up and wave their hands and say hallelujah, hallelujah. That dream speech was coming out all the time. That I have a dream. That illusion of Malcolm and Martin being at war with each other, that the country portrayed to keep the narrative going. And here's something that I'm gonna cover today. That Nation of Islam that's been prosecuted for so long, when that black man stood up, I need you to understand what I'm saying. When that black man stood up, he stood up for everybody that was out there. Not just us. He stood up and showed you that you can do it. You can do it. You got the power to do it. But it wasn't because he didn't have a challenge ahead of him. I told you about the stuff that he went through. Think about not just him. I need you to think about what he put his family through. Think about everybody that was first lady up until Michelle Obama got there. They didn't look like her. They had to set the precedents for anybody that's coming into office after them. And she didn't say to many times, that's not what I signed up for. But she knew, because her husband represented the highest office in the land, that she was going to have to play her role. See, he could have been the best president that there ever was. He could have saved everything that I told you about that he did. Saved. He could have put in force the best health care. But if he didn't have the right person behind him, I'm going to say this in a way where people can understand. Maybe she would have had to do a movie too to explain her position in the White House. I couldn't help myself. I said I wasn't going to go there, but I just need to try to put this in a perspective where people who are listening to me, you know how I am. I love to put it in a perspective where you, this is, I don't care how much you push back, you got to give him his credit. Any attempt to debate his policies after what he brought this country through, they got to go in the back burner. What he accomplished, you got to give him credit for. You got to give him credit for. There were people who wanted the story of Barack Obama to collapse. As a matter of fact, I believe that some of the people that's in charge knew that it was so bad at the time when he was getting elected. They knew that he was going to fail. What do we do anytime that they count us out? I think his wife said it somehow, but I'm going to try to put it together. When they go low, we don't dig in there with them. At that time, he couldn't afford to dig in there with them because at that time, the country was at its lowest spot. He had to save America from itself. All those people that you see sitting at the VP and positions in these banks right now, are they asking them all kind of information they was asking them about during that time? Very few of them told to tell you the story that Barack Obama saved their bank. How many times did you hear that? And I like to use Chase because Chase I'm very familiar with. I like to use Chase because I know somebody that works at Chase, and it's one of the biggest banks out there. They didn't give him credit for saving their Sapphire card, saving their house loans that they had written. They didn't give him credit for none of that. And some of those banks didn't make it. Some of those banks was on the brink of closing their doors within months if he would have let it fail. See, people tell a story. I wish he would have let it collapse. But you know who it would have collapsed on? Yeah, it would have took one or two of them down. That same billionaire club, probably would have got about 10 of them at the most. But everyday Americans, it would have took them out. It would have took them out. What is success represented? If the first black president succeeded at stabilizing this country, then the door will remain open for another person to come behind him. He did that. For some, that was the real threat. And that's the real threat of a woman coming behind him, because then she opens up doors for other women, just like he opened doors for other black people to come into office. See, they tell a story of the Hispanic vote, and they tell a story of the Hispanic vote not wanting a woman in charge. But if you ever want to see a Hispanic person come in there, you got to open the doors for somebody besides yourself. Because we never know who the next president might be after 2028. But if you don't let that door open for somebody else, they still got the power. They still got the power. Oh, man. I just think about a nation in crisis. I just think about a nation in crisis, financial crisis. I think about a nation that didn't even have health care. I can tell a story about myself. I remember when I couldn't get a policy written for my own son. because he had chronic asthma. I had to use the healthcare system as a doctor because of his condition. See, y'all don't remember, most people don't remember that because now they got the healthcare system where you can put your kid through college on. It wasn't like that before. But see, they don't want to give him credit for that. See, when they was trying to destroy it, oh man, they gave him all kind of credit. It wasn't affordable health care. It was the Barack Obama care. And if people heard it in the same sentence, it was so funny. I think Jimmy Kimmel did it best. I think it was a skit where he went out, and I'm putting this on Jimmy Kimmel because there was somebody in line with Jimmy Kimmel that did it. They went out there and asked him, said, would you want Barack Obama health care or would you want an affordable health care plan? You know what they say? I want the affordable health care plan. I want the affordable health care plan. Same thing. Same thing. But because you attach a certain person to it, and he still made it through that. Let me tell you what was unique about what he did. He saved the country. Then he got a second term. He should have had a third term. I know. I understand the rules and I'm doing like somebody else. The years that came after his presidency revealed something deeper, a hunger in part of the country for a leader who could tap into resentment. When he was in office, you heard me say 8 years, there was a resentment. They had somebody to blame every little thing that went wrong with this country on. And you know what he did? He did it with pride. He did it with dignity. And there was nothing that they could say, nothing that they could. Because if they came to him and they wanted to sit down one-on-one, he could handle that too. He wasn't running. He wasn't calling people out of their names. He didn't run away from the press. As a matter of fact, he probably went to the press more than any other president in history. He got along with his counterparts, even the man that dumped the load in his lap. On the other side of the aisle, he still got along with them. Not only did he do it, his family did it. You never heard him to this day say, you know what, you gave me a pile of, and man, what you left me with, that's that dignity that most people don't give him credit for. Then you shift into an era that followed without attacking individuals. I got to shift now. The years that came after his presidency, something deepened. And that deepened was that resentment, that distrust. Someone could tell a different story about America. One that didn't have to acknowledge the progress, the sacrifice, or the history that Obama made possible. Whew, that right there. The years that came after his presidency. You could stick right there. I could end this whole thing right there. America has a long history of trying to rewrite comfortable chapters, trying to rewrite uncomfortable chapters. And that's what is going on right now. They're going to eventually try to do it with him, but they ain't going to be able to because of the history that he set, because of what he put in place. They're doing it with slavery. They're doing it with Reconstruction. They're trying to do it with civil rights like it never existed, that we always was created equal. Well, that don't change because you're the man that's in office right now wants to make it disappear. That don't change. That's part of our history. When a nation as a whole we refuse to face our past, refuse to face our past. Now you bring in unity. You can't bring in unity and healing if you can't face your past. If you can't admit what was going on in the past is there, there's no future. Because you can never heal a nation without acknowledging the past. Barack Obama had victories, he had failures, he had pain, and the progress. All of that. But what he was able to do was to bring a nation together and show us that we could live as one nation. Not as our forefathers had it set up, that one nation, and I'm going to call it, that one nation BS that's in the Constitution. But that one nation showing that a black man's in office and that he still was able to help us live as one nation. Somebody gonna wake up eventually. See, dignity, gratitude, we owe it to his family. We need to say thank you to the family of Obama family. Not for perfection, but for presence. For some of y'all don't understand what presence means. Presence means that they didn't embarrass you when they got there. They didn't set it up for the next person to fail behind them. They left the record so clean that somebody could come behind them. It ain't about all the rest of that. That was a sacrifice that they made. Can you imagine what that sacrifice is? Think about this. Every black person of any significance at any time in history before this is no longer around. No longer around. That's the sacrifice that he made. He stepped into a storm and he held the line when the country was shaking. History will remember the moment. History will remember the moment, not for not putting up a dance hall on the side of the White House, but they'll remember the moment when he saved a nation. And his background wasn't in finance, so he had to put together a team. Not a team of his friends, not a team that he seen on TV and thought that they was a general. Not a team because they asked him one or two questions every now and then. I'm going. If you go back in my story, if you go back to last week, you understand what I'm saying. But he had to put together a team that was going to represent America as a whole. He didn't have that liberty because he knew he was fighting an uphill battle then. He knew he was fighting an uphill battle then. And I don't want to leave out of here. I want a couple more points I want to make, and I'm going to get out of here. The culture truth, the weight of sin happened. This is something that you need to watch. For many of us, watching Obama take that oath wasn't politics. It was personal. It touched us in a way that we've never been touched. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to build this picture up because I need you to understand what's going on. Hold on. Before I get to the end, I didn't do this last week, but I'm going to do that this week. Ron, I can't stay, but I saw you were live and I stopped by. Just want to say this. Obama was cut off by the Republicans at every turn. Everything he tried to do. True. Some young people are saying Martin Luther King, not understanding he was the reason they can be on the internet today. You know, I'm going to fault us for that. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I fault us for that. Because we have a history of not knowing where we came from. I made this earlier, and this is the appropriate time. I'm going to get to the rest of the comments, but I need you to understand something. See, we had to sing. We had songs that was out there. You heard me say Jill Scott Heron. It would never be televised. The revolution would never be televised. But we had people like Stevie Wonder singing Happy Birthday to Dr. Martin Luther King. You know, when y'all extend that song, when you singing it to somebody today and y'all think it's all that, Stevie Wonder extended that song because he was singing it to Martin Luther King on his birthday. Because he had sacrificed his life. So when you extend that song, don't think you standing up to singing happy birthday, and then you get through singing a regular song, then somebody break into the chorus. Go out there and listen to that Stevie Wonder song, Happy Birthday, and you'll know where that came from. I'm gonna go here. Marvin Gaye, Inner City Blues. Y'all don't know nothing about it. Go out there and listen to it. Then he had one song that should have woke you up, that wakes you up to what's going on right now. What's going on? Whew. And you know what? So y'all can understand. There was a man that he said it back a long time ago. I am black and I am proud. I am black and proud. James Brown. For you people like me, there's another man that had a message. And I gotta send it to you. Johnny Guitar Watson. Lord, it's a real motherfucker. For you. I say for you, not the word. I'm glad she brought that up because it kind of took me back to where I needed to be. That song that I mentioned earlier when I was on the air, if a peanut farmer can do it, so can I. Ed Townsend. For you younger people that I didn't understand, even when he was doing it, they're not like us. They don't understand our struggle. By Kendrick Lamar. It took me a while to understand that Super Bowl. But when I got it, I understood it. When I got it, I understood it. Man, another song that's out there, Common. It's called Glory. See, we sung even back in slavery. Our songs had a message. It prepared us for the day when they got there. It prepared us for the day when they made that march down that street that so many of others had made that didn't look like them. So if you want to know, I gotta do this one. Because before they did this, Byron Glass did this. If you go back to any of our Blog Talk Radio shows when Byron Glass was on the show, we were able to do A Change Gonna Come by Sam Cooke. We used to listen to that. Man. And then this young lady, I'm going to give her credit for it because she has a song called I Can't Breathe. She uses her initials, HER. See, Barack brought us into the White House. Too many times we stood around in black and white. Too many times we were there as black people and we had those mediocre jobs. It was black people in the White House. But they had to say, sir, yes, sir, no, sir. It was people in the White House that was doing jobs for years. Go out there and Google it. They were there, but they wasn't in charge. But I can only imagine the day I can only imagine the day that black man walked in with his family after serving all them people for all them years. Can you imagine that joy that it brought to them? Long road told. Those black people stood there and they say, this man looks like me. They could identify with it. Just telling you, I'm telling you what he represented for this country, what he still represents today, and where this country could go based on what he did. Here we had a show called Blog Talk USA. Blog Talk USA. It was built on diversity. Byron Glass had a show out of Louisiana. We got people out there still fighting the fight today. And Gary Chambers, I'm going to tell you, Gary, I see you out there. Roland Martin, I see you out there. They fight a battle on a daily basis. On a daily basis. They put the media out there. And maybe they can't take their time like I'm doing. But it's not because they can't do it. It's because it's so much. There's so much that needs changing these days. They're setting up so many roadblocks for us to fall into. Hey Angela, how are you doing? I see your posts out there. You know some of the battles that we went through when we was on Blog Talk. You know some of the discussions that we had when Big Simp was around. You know that we're still battling the same thing at that time. Brandon Johnson. Some of y'all don't know those names, but if you ever stuck around me, Byron Glass, and Pastor Riggins long enough, you would know who those names are. We still face that. Our kids face that. But here's the one thing that lifts us up. I see you, Angela. I got you. Yes, we do. We're still in that fight. We're still in that fight, and we're going to continue to be in that fight. I done told you the doors that this man opened and the struggles that he went through. But I'm going to give you a struggle that people are going, that I seen, that we went through on this era with a group of people that was struggling. I'm not going to let their story die because I'd be wrong if I let their story die. Trying to open a building in New Orleans owned by black people. And you know, they denied them every chance that they did. These, and I don't want to skip the narrative because the narrative is these were people that had fought for their country. And they still denied them. They still denied them. See, we go out there, and I'm getting ready to get off here, but I need to break this down because I think I did them a service. But I'm going to change something on the back of me real quick because I need you to see this. I need you to see this in its entirety. It was them that made the sacrifice. But not only did they make that sacrifice they didn't make it by themselves. trying to get to this. They gave you a reason to stick your chests out. Because that was the people that was in the White House. They gave you a reason to stick your chests out. And we still stick our chests out today because this family behind us gave us that reason. And don't let anybody tell you that anything different. Proud of them. Proud of them. But I'm going to get back to the story because if you don't understand the present, you can't relate to the past. This was even during the time they were in office. This was going on in New Orleans. But you know what? Thank God that we got a God up above. He transferred from that fight to helping veterans. And I'm going to tell that story because if we don't tell our own stories, nobody respects who we are and what we have done. He transferred them into taking care of veterans, and they're helping veterans every which way they can. I texted her. I was talking to her in a message the other day. She said, "Ron, said, can I put your big?" No, you got right. You can put that out any kind of way that you want to. I don't care, because that's what people do. And I got to go here. See, I'm doing this, and I called names. I didn't call people out of their names. I didn't do any of that. What I try to do is leave this better than what it is. And that's all he tried to do with his family, was leave it better so somebody could come behind him and clean it up. And see, you heard me earlier, I said from Dallas to Chicago. Tom Joyner flew back and forth to do radio in between both of them. And the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because when I heard them do that morning show, when they told him about this young man named Barack Obama that was running for office out of Chicago, he didn't even know who he was. If you don't believe me, go back and look at the first tape when they was talking about him. I think it was Sybil that brought it up on the show. You got to remember where you came from and where you elevated to. And once you get there, you got to establish everything. Everything is on you. Black man, black family. And he wore it well. He wore it well. You'll never be able to take anything away from what he did. Never. So I'm gonna end this show like this, the way I started. I did this show. I don't know his name. Pastor Riggins didn't send me his name. Let me see if Pastor Riggins sent me his name before I get off the air. I did this show for a person that was on the air when we were criticizing this man behind us. And he was so torn up on the inside because of what he had went through as an older black man. The only word he could say is stop. And I didn't understand it. So this show is for you. This show is for you. Pastor Riggins, member. Because I wanted to get this in before his day came up, because I don't want to take away from nothing that he has going. Because it's getting ready to come. And America's going to talk about him. But I can guarantee you they're going to try to erase that history too. But if you see anything that's going on online right now, he's going to be in Chicago. His building is there. I know. I'm going to play Baptist member one more time. When I was in the city, when I was in the service, they used to have a battle about the blackest city in America. When I was in, the blackest city in America was Chicago. But Atlanta was getting to be a close second. And you would hear them in the service and they'd say, LA, I'm from LA. Thinking that they talking about Los Angeles. They say, no, lovely Atlanta. You know how we do things. They say, lovely Atlanta. And I remember that going around posts. I remember that going around the service when I was in there. Because most people don't understand. Most GIs have, as you travel from destination to destination across America, you have to travel through these different airports. You're flying into these different cities, and you learn these skylines as you get into them. You may not go into the city, but you know them skylines. And a lot of the GIs, when they was back in the barracks, they had posters on the wall that was from their city. And if you didn't know the skylines from flying into them, you knew the skylines when you seen them. Some military people understand what I'm talking about. I gotta leave you with that, but every time I mention Chicago, I got to think about this. I'm gonna leave you with this. And I didn't say it before, and I'm gonna say it again, because I have to believe that he was a part of what happened with this family behind me. Looking at TV late one night, they were pulling this cart around, not by machine, no machine pulling it. Two white guys pulling it. You can go find it on the internet. Two white guys pulling it. One black guy, just like a dude from Chicago, hat in place, overcoat, dressed to a T. See, that was something else that was good about Chicago when I was in the service. I had to understand that. Dress accordingly. But all them white people that were standing around stopped and paused and gathered around. And they opened up this box because I guess they have to put the box within a box, a coffin within a box to travel. And they start rolling that coffin out of that box, of a box. And they put it, and as they was rolling it out, this one person on the side was helping them put it into the back of a hearse. And if you don't believe me, go back and just look at that scene, because they didn't say who it was. But I remember the black guy, after he got control of it and he was doing whatever he do, they stopped that body from going all over the place or whatever, because he had traveled many miles. He put it in there. He said, "Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home." And the real reason why I'm telling you that is because that same man that they put in there that was saying welcome home, I'm sure he supported these black people behind me, helped them get into the office. And I'm saying that story and I'm going to repeat it because as black people, as a people, I'm going to say it like that, we got to tell the story. We got to help each other, lift each other up every chance that we get. You don't have to take total credit for it, but you got to know that when somebody comes to you and tell you that they want to do something, help them. Help them tell their story, because you never know that it might be somebody named Barack Obama that goes on to be the next president of these United States. You never know, but if you don't support them, If you don't support them, they can't do anything. Chicago to Dallas. Chicago got Obama. Dallas, Jasmine Crockett. Tied together. Tied together. All right, I'm going to say thank God, thank God, thank God for everything that I covered. I hope I educated. I hope I left this place a lot better than I started with. I hope that you can respect the man, his family. I hope that you can respect everything that he did. Oh, but tomorrow. I'm just going to ask you to tune in for the next couple of days because we got some stuff that's going on tomorrow at 7:30. Pastor Riggins is going to be joining in us. Byron Glass is going to be back on in place. We're going to have a big discussion tomorrow night. As a matter of fact, just look at Facebook. I'm going to do a post about what it's about. I'm going to put it up probably as soon as I get off this show. As always, thank God, thank God, thank God. Because if it wasn't for God, we wouldn't be here. Always remember that. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.